You are now tuned in to a special Thanksgiving holiday edition. We are rolling into the Thanksgiving week. We weren't going to leave you with nothing. Maybe something to throw on, a little bit of nostalgia when you're hanging out with the loved ones, or if maybe you're just feeling good with some botanicals and a full tummy. You want to lay back and watch something that just gives you that warm, comfy feeling. We got it all for you because we got the best action movies of the 90s and the 2000s, and we got the best comedy movies of the 90s and the 2000s. Some lists that Drew put up on the Medium site here recently, and we're going to go through them, pick out some, and talk about them individually, like what they mean to us, what they meant to the culture at the time. Going to be a fun time. Just take you back through maybe, and the ones that we don't talk about, like if you want us to do a deep dive on it, like hit the comments or hit up one of us, and we'll come back and we'll do another deep dive on it. We got our film expert James back on. He was with us for the Halloween one. He marathoned that bad boy with us. First podcast he ever done. Damn thing was 2 hours long. He's back with us. He was brave enough to come back with us for another one. We promise this won't be one won't be 2 hours long. First list I'll go with the 90s comedy list. And I think this isn't in order, but I need to start off with, since it's the holidays or the beginning of the holiday season, Home Alone, right up there in the top 10. I got some lore about Home Alone that I'll break. That comes down from the Netflix documentary, the movies that made us. There's a bunch of crazy lore about Home Alone. That they built like the whole set and the whole house and all the water scenes were done like in a pool that was fulled up. Where like he floods the basement and all that shit. It's like actually flooded. It's wild. Other movies on the list to start us off. Let me go back to the beginning. The Mask, Clerks, Mrs. Doubtfire. Oh my gosh. Austin Powers, House Party, Clueless, and Big Daddy. Big Daddy was in a big rotation for me for a really long time. I can wipe my own butt. You owe me an egg McMuffin, all that stuff. And, obviously the Adam Sandler from when he was on a heater in the 90s, infinitely quotable, infinitely. And I'm sure there's another particular movie that's going to be in here for Adam Sandler for the 90s. It better be, or I'm going to have to fucking throw a fit. There's like one of the quintessential 90s movies. But out of the beginning of the list, True, what's the one that's one or two that sticks out for you? Mrs. Doubtfire for me as well.
Mrs. Doubtfire is one that I could really relate to. Obviously, I wouldn't be doing what Robin Williams did, but somebody who's doing whatever they can for their child, I absolutely that resonates with me, and it's just a favorite growing up. It's just one of those things that growing up, Robin Williams was. I mean, that's the peak, right? I think that's like peak Robin Williams.
It's peak Robin Williams, and Robin Williams is the peak of like being that fucking dude. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Especially for the 90s.
So I mean, Mrs. Doubtfire was like number one. Number one for me as a kid, outside of like the ones that are like a little higher up on the list. But Mrs. Doubtfire, Home Alone is a classic. I think Home Alone that's one of my favorite Christmas movies. Like my daughter and I watch Home Alone every year. It's one of the ones that I always gravitate to. So like that's one that completely resonates with me. As far as like, Clerks and some of the other ones, that was more so because of the impact that I think they've had. Like Clerks was never like I'm not a Jay and Silent Bob. Like I'm not a big fan of them like that personally.
Yeah,
it's not my thing.
Deal,
but it was such a big deal that it was like you just can't leave them off. So, but for me, Mrs. Doubtfire, Home Alone, in the early stage of the list, those are the top. Those are like my top two for sure from that.
No Love for the Mask. That was a huge fucking deal when that came out.
James, I like the Mask. Yeah, I like the Mask, and the Mask is great, and I watch it for like Halloween and stuff too, just because it's one of those movies I feel like you want to watch in the fall. But my favorite Jim Carrey comedy is much later in the list. That's my favorite all time. And like there's a couple other ones that I could have looked at too, like Ace Ventura is not on the list, and somebody like texted me and was like, "Man, you didn't do Ace Ventura?" I was not an Ace Ventura guy like that.
Neither was I, but it was a huge deal in the 90s for sure.
Yeah.
James, man, thoughts on the beginning of the comedy list? Anything here? I'll wait for him.
Oh, he dropped off?
Yeah, I don't know. There we go. Hold on. All right.
Hello. Hey, we're back.
Okay. Hold on a second. I'll reset. James, anything that sticks out to you for the beginning of the comedy list? One or two pick'ems? What do you think?
Absolutely. So, love what's already been said, and I agree in the sense of the mask specifically. It's one of those things where, like a handful of the other films that already mentioned on the list, the impact bringing Jim Carrey to the big screen for the first time in such a big way. Him coming up, through the ranks in terms of living color on the TV, blowing up in terms of the movies, carrying on throughout the years, exploring not just comedy, but drama, with Eternal Sunshine and other movies along the way. It's one of those things where he's such a versatile person, and The Mask is what launched him. So that's the thing. I agree in the sense that it's like not my favorite Jim Carrey movie or my favorite comedy of the 90s, but in terms of launching his career and bringing his literally giant face, big face on the big screen with The Mask was so important and influential. So I absolutely agree with that.
Iconic character and iconic like love interest, the whole Cameron Diaz thing, that was kind of a big launcher for her as well. In that definitely monolithic of 90s, early 90s culture coming up. No Big Daddy shouts. No Big Daddy shouts from either one of you guys. What's the thoughts on Big Daddy? There.
So wait, real quick. Big Daddy I put Big Daddy on my list because it's my favorite Adam Sandler movie.
Okay,
but
there you go.
I know for a fact a lot of people were like Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison.
One, yeah.
Like that's gonna be the one. So I was just like, for me, Big Daddy, just because once again, anything that has comedy to it and can tug at your heartstrings just a little bit. And for me, my two favorite Adam Sandler movies are Big Daddy and The Waterboy. Like those are my two favorites because I think they're completely stupid, but like in like a funny way. But also Big Daddy, like it showed a slightly more mature side of Adam Sandler at certain points, and I think like that was what it just resonates more now. Like if this was back when and we were in the 90s, I'd probably pick like something else. Like I'd probably pick something else, but like as an adult now, I'm like, man, like he had this kid and he had to grow up and like, like stuff like that. So that's why Big Daddy's on this, but it's my favorite Adam Sandler movie, but I'm not as big of an Adam Sandler fan. So it's not something that like, I would be like, oh yeah, this is my favorite. Cause I haven't even watched it in quite some time. So
James, tell me about Home Alone, bro.
Yeah, I love Home Alone. I agree in terms of the layers involved. I love that you shouted out the movies that made us doc series on Netflix. I
So good.
absolutely recommend that as well. Yeah, and the fact that okay, so you've got Macaulay Culkin, who is, the talent for such a young kid to do everything he did in that movie. It's mind-boggling, and the fact that his brother, Kieran, just won an Oscar. The talent in the family is remarkable. So the fact that he lent that at that age to not only again we're talking about a Christmas movie, Home Alone. Every year you can watch it, absolutely, people rank it as their favorite Christmas movie, but just as any time of year, just as the movie in general, it's something that is so funny, so heartwarming, action packed, and also the layers of people on YouTube who have gone back and analyzed just like how much damage is actually done to Joe Pesci, and his accomplice in terms of like breaking into the house and how they actually wouldn't have been able to survive. It's hilarious and it's amazing, and it will carry on for years.
It really had it all, man. The music, it had a big. These are the things that were just like, I don't know, like iconic to kids who were that age in the 90s. Like it had a big fucking spider in it, a tarantula, cheese pizza getting delivered. Like all these things were like the ultimate dream for a kid that age to do. Like fuck up some bad guys with some sick ass traps inside your house, get a cheese pizza, have the pet tarantula. This was all peak stuff. True, talk to me about Home Alone, man.
Hey man, Home Alone 1 and 2, because I think 2 is like I don't think 2 is better, but I think 2 is like not that far behind it. So but I think the first one, for one, terrible parenting. That's one. Let's just be clear. That's just the first thing.
Yeah.
Like awful parenting. And
Oh
then
fuck yeah.
yeah, like how you just leave your damn kid, like that's just crazy. But I just think it's such a it's Macaulay Culkin's, like it's his, that's his moment, right? Like that's the moment, that's the peak. I saw him in The Good Son and other things, but like that's his peak, and that's like the height of his powers as a child actor. And I mean, the movie's just so much fun. And I think as a kid watching Home Alone, you have so much fun. Like my daughter thinks that she thinks it's hilarious. She's like, "Oh, you hit him with a can of paint and he fall off the thing," and he did like it's a lot of physical comedy
Yeah.
in a movie. I'm not gonna lie, like some of this stuff is brutal. Like you said, like there's no way some of the stuff they would survive. You putting your bare foot getting stuck on the nail and all this stuff. Like there's so much bad stuff that happens to them. And I think for me, like I said, Home Alone, and I will touch on another movie that's at the bottom of this list that I was kind of looking at. It's House Party, and I'll get to that because House Party is on the list just because of the fact that I couldn't justify putting House Party 3, which is my favorite House Party. But yeah, like so Home Alone is one of those movies where it's timeless. It's Christmas. It's almost Christmas time, man. We about that Christmas time. You gotta watch Home Alone. If you don't watch Home Alone on Christmas, you're a Grinch. You're a Grinch. That's just the way it goes. You're a Grinch if you don't watch Home Alone at Christmas time. But also, like I said, House Party, the impact that Kid and Play had on pop culture in America, I think it's one of the most understated things that happened
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
like people walk around with the high top fade because a kid, like
To this day.
like to this day. And
Yeah.
so to see that, and then like the freestyle scene where not really a freestyle, but the freestyle scene when they start dancing and they go back and forth and they rap, like there's just so much. I mean, rest in peace to Robin Harris, like legendary. And then like I said, House Party 3 is my favorite because Bernie Mac, Chris Tucker, AJ Johnson, there's so many, like a bunch of people who are in Friday, which we'll get to later, are in House Party 3. So like I think that's why like House Party 3 is my favorite because it's like the precursor. But yeah, so I wanted to mention that one. Shout out to Clueless as well. Clueless was not a movie that I grew up on, but I discovered it later on. And like I said, Alicia Silverstone, Stacey Dash, just that whole concept. It was a pop culture phenomenon. It was Alicia Silverstone became huge and became a superstar, and Stacey Dash she's kind of gone through some interesting things since then. But like at that time, you don't get those things at that time. That was just peak powers for so many people during that time, and that's what those movies. Because I want to get to the number one and why I picked number one. I'll get to that once we get later down the list. But there's a reason why, and there is an important reason why that's my number one. But we'll get to that.
We're coming soon. The next one, man, we got to spend a minute on. I think because actually I just watched the documentary. We were both watching at the same time. We were texting each other. Me and True were the Eddie Murphy documentary on Netflix.
Yes, sir.
And it's more like not poignant, but more impactful to watch it now as an adult because as a kid, like right when Eddie Murphy was like in the Jordan zone, when Eddie Murphy was being really Eddie Murphy. Like I was, we were like kids, we weren't, or preteens, you know what I'm saying? Like we didn't really understand. I'm watching it now and I'm watching the stuff he did and as an adult. And I'm like, nobody has ever been like this, like before or since. Like he was that fucking incredible. And to be that fucking incredible, he was like 19, he was like 20, 21 when he was on Saturday Night Live and like stepping into this realm. And the range and the ability, not just in this, but in Coming to America as well. They showed him playing all the different characters in the barbershop, and then the Soul Glow commercial as well. To play all these characters, to be willing to sit through the makeup, to do all this, the fact that he didn't get a fucking award for this, like this is fucking insane. The Nutty Professor is fucking insane. It's insanely quotable. It's Eddie Murphy doing funny Eddie Murphy shit. It's him doing all the multiple characters. I'm not going to say it launched Dave Chappelle because Dave Chappelle had his own like iconic stand-up routine that's killing was it Killing Me Softly? Is that what it was called? Yeah, I think it
Yeah.
was. Yeah, that was on HBO. That was fucking incredible. But it did put him in front of a lot more people and showed it to a lot more people. And David Chappelle's even awesome in this, even though he's in a small role. Just fucking ridiculous across the board, man. Nutty Professor is so out of fucking control.
There's a thing about Nutty Professor too, when you think about it, is that was a comeback movie for Eddie in a way. There's a comeback. Like after Boomerang, you're looking at Distinguished Gentleman, which did not do well. You're looking at Vampire in Brooklyn, which I love Vampire in Brooklyn, but
I love Vampire in Brooklyn. I was sad the way they talked about it in the movie. I loved that movie when I was a kid. When I was that age, I fucking loved Vampire in Brooklyn.
It's hilarious. It's hilarious. Like Eddie is the preacher, and all that. I mean, so like there's so much.
Again this week.
It's a great movie, but at the same time,
yeah,
it's also a film that like compared to what you're used to from Eddie, it was like it felt like a step down. Because also, who really, like Black Dracula type thing, like I people just didn't care for it that much. But Nutty Professor was like a return to form. It was like what he did in Coming to America, but like just in a more family friendly way almost. Because like the barbershop scene, and
he's front and center. He's front and center doing this. Yeah,
and you can tell it's Eddie. I think that was different. And Coming to America, people don't know that like. Yeah. A lot of those characters, people didn't realize that the old dude and the old white dude in the barbershop was Eddie. Like people doesn't realize.
People don't realize that to this day. You'll tell them that, and they'll be like, "No," they'll be surprised.
So the range for him to play the grandmother and which I think that is, come on, Cletus. Like that's just it's just hilarious.
You're gonna live back. I used to say that to people fucking for years after that.
It's just quotables after quotables, and and so like. The Nutty Professor it's just timeless. I think it's almost 30 years since that movie came out, and I could still watch it and laugh, especially the Chappelle scene. I'll still laugh because it's just like you snapping on red, like that whole back and forth. It's just funny.
Now it's time to talk about your mama a little bit.
Right.
I have to say this real quick. It's not related to the thing, but I'm gonna forget. I meant to message you. The fucking part in the Eddie Murphy documentary where he gets the Paul Mooney doll out and he talks and he does like a Paul Mooney impression. I was fucking crying laughing. Like it's so short. It's so fucking funny. Do you know which part I'm talking about?
I do. Yes, I do.
Yeah, the fact that he brings out not only that doll but multiple dolls and goes through the history about how like ventriloquism and working with the puppets helped like bring him up as he was a kid into the have that comedic mindset. Incredible.
Yeah. So talk to me about Nutty Professor, James.
Absolutely agree with what's been said. Incredible movie, foundational, and has oh my gosh, it has, again, like most of these movies on these lists, it's got the comedy, it's got the heart, it's got the dynamic range of all the people involved, especially Eddie Murphy. And the fact that, like you said, he helped bring up Dave Chappelle in terms of putting him on the big screen. Shout out to another amazing 90s movie that, don't get me wrong, not everybody liked it either then or now, but it was foundational for me as well. Half Baked, gotta shout it out. The fact that was a connection, and then now I gotta go on a little bit of a tangent, but it's gonna connect to everything. So go from this back to Boomerang and the established comedic genius that Eddie Murphy brought to the table, but also brought John Witherspoon and David Allen Greer and Grace Jones and Eartha Kitt, and brought them all to the forefront in a movie that portrayed African Americans in a way that hadn't been done before, and just highlighted their versatility, their talent, and helped blow up their careers as well in the best of ways. And then I also you take all these layers of what Eddie did for them, and then again to connect back to, so you've got Home Alone. I love that it was mentioned that if you don't watch Home Alone on Christmas, you're a Grinch. Speaking of the Grinch, who played the Grinch? Jim Carrey. And then we've got Jim Carrey going back to The Mask and Liar Liar, which is also on this list. Amazing movie. And the fact that to connect this then back to Clueless, you've got Alicia Silverstone blowing up in Clueless. Where does she eventually end up? In Batman and Robin. And what was the movie before Batman and Robin? Batman Forever. Jim Carrey. Who was the Riddler? Jim Carrey. Boom. So the
Yeah.
fact that all these you look at it like at a macro sense, and the fact that all these people were able to do so much
This is the
in
crew.
such a short period of time is incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. So we went from this. We talked about this is one of the most quotable movies of all time. I'm about to ask you, True. I think you might agree with me. I don't know. James might have a different pick. I think the next, I would say, at least in my life, the next movie is the most quotable movie of all time, at least in comedy. And you say on here, this is one of the greatest films ever made. If I was being biased, this would be in the top 3. I do not think you're being biased. I think this movie is so influential. It is so impactful. It could have been number 1. It could have been number 2. It could have been number 3. I would have absolutely supported it. Friday. When I say quotable, there's fucking people. My prior job, I worked with people from all over the country, all over the world, all over the geographical locations. We could sit there and do entire segments of the script. Fuck lines. We could go back and forth doing portions of the fucking movie together. That's how fucking quotable this script is. That's how memorable these characters are. That's how incredible the delivery of this is. This is one of the best soundtracks of all time. One of the most iconic movie villains of all time that fucking villains got based off of for hundreds of years later. There is phrases in our lexicon of modern culture that comes from this fucking movie. Bye, Felicia. That comes from fucking Friday. Friday is the next movie on the list. Influential doesn't even fucking begin to cover it. It's the soundtrack, the phrases. We still say "Bye, Felicia" to this fucking day.
Some people do.
People who weren't even fucking born when this movie comes out that say "Bye, Felicia." They have no fucking idea it comes from this.
Oh yeah, I know that. Friday is just, rest in peace to my cousin, man. Like, we used to sit up and watch Friday, and like my great aunt would cook for us. And we would just sit up there in the kitchen this is in the like late 90s. So like this is like where they had like the wooden table, the like real wooden table, like it looks like a wooden table with the wooden chairs where like you got to put the seats so your ass don't hurt because you're sitting there too long. And we would just sit there and just eat like white rice and gravy with like some onions on the you know what I mean, just sit there and we would watch Friday. Mind you, we had no business watching Friday at this time. We had no business watching Friday, no business. And we would just watch it over and over and over and over again. And, I love Next Friday. I love Friday After Next, obviously. I know Last Friday or This Friday, whichever title, they're working on the final one with Aaron McGruder, DJ Pooh's back, Ice Cube and all that stuff. So there's a lot of stuff going on with that franchise. But like this is 30 years ago. 30 years ago, this movie completely changed culture in general. Like, you can't, if you smoke weed on a Friday, you probably gonna quote Friday just because. So Chris Tucker, star making turn for sure. You can't, it's just a game changer, like I said. And I give a lot of credit, although people don't look at it that way. I give a lot of credit to House Party 3 in the House Party series, because a lot of those actors got a good start in the House Party. John Witherspoon was in House Party before. Bernie Mac was in House Party. Chris Tucker was in House Party. So there's a lot of actors. AJ Johnson, Ezell was in House Party. So like those, so those characters come to life, and like there used to be a synergy amongst Black actors where you just always saw them in films together. And I wish we had that now. And that's part of the reason why I know James, kind of mentioned Boomerang a little earlier, which was, like I said, that's why Boomerang is so important to me, because of how it positioned people and it showcased, like these are Black marketing executives. And like Friday is like that movie where it's like, man, if you've ever been on the block, you ever just sat around, just hanging around, all this type of shit happens in a day. That shit is real. Like, it might be always over exaggerated, but like the seedy pastor who's sneaking over somebody's house and like all of that stuff happens in real life. And I think that Friday is just one of those really relatable movies that
we're into wrestling. Jada Parker. People say that shit all the time too. Hey, Miss Parker.
Hey, Miss Parker. Yep. It's
People don't
nothing
even
but
fucking
quotes.
know if they're saying stuff from Friday. It's so fucking
Exactly.
just iconic. So much cultural influence. James, go ahead, man. Talk to me about. We're gonna play a little game here. We're just gonna fucking bullshit like old men in the bar or in the barbershop about Friday after this. But give me your Friday take, man.
Absolutely. It's one of those seminal movies that exactly what was just said, these ensemble casts, what they were able to do at that time to not only like, okay, it's one thing where it's like, okay, you sit down, you get ready to watch a movie for the first time, whether you've heard word of mouth about it, you don't know what to do or what to expect going into it. And then for these movies to just like blow everything out of the water and become so important for so many people. Like again, like sitting down at the table, eating and watching it every Friday on repeat. All of these movies have such high rewatchability factor that it lends itself to bringing these people to so many sets of eyes in so many different ways. So okay, so you like was said, you've got the connection from House Party 3 with Chris Tucker to Friday, which is incredible. And love that it was mentioned in the article with this list that Chris Tucker with Money Talks as well. Absolutely incredible, not only comedy, but action comedy, which is going to bridge the gap into the action movies we're going to talk about soon enough, as well as Rush Hour, which lends itself to Chris Tucker popping off for 3 more movies that are absolutely incredible. So it's one of those things where all the people involved were working at such a high level in terms of talent, in terms of professionalism, in terms of commentary for society that we were living in then that continues to speak to where we're living in now. It's absolutely incredible.
There needs to be like a Friday document. I need to know everything about the genesis of how this all came together, and like what the idea was, and what it's just fucking out of control. All right, famous or not famous, but like favorite. I don't even know if I could fucking pick a favorite. Like favorite things from this fucking movie. I already said, how you gonna get fired on your day off? That's a fucking classic.
Absolutely.
Ezel, my neck, my back, my neck. I just sent you a fucking meme the other day, True, with fucking Bernie, the Lord is my shepherd. He knows what I want.
I know.
That's fucking, so that's in there. The fucking with the midget coming home and the pastor is creeping on him. The fucking neighbor, please stay off my freaking grass. Like that part. The drive-by is crazy. His interactions with his sister and his mom. The fucking girlfriend who fucking calls him.
You ain't got to lie, Craig. You ain't got to lie. That whole
Fool! When he picks up the phone, hello, fool! She just screams into it, and all the time there's a dude laying on the bed next to her. Now tell me who she was. That fucking
I'll tell you my favorite scene is literally, it's one that most people don't even talk about, but it's the one where they're sitting outside and they talking, and Chris Tucker is like, man, her mama got it. Like, and it just turns into that. But when he was like, oh yeah, what do you say?
The older the berry, the
sweeter the juice. He's like, that's the black of the berry, sweet juice. Oh yeah, you black that motherfucker too. Like that's the like me and my cousin we cry because it's just because it rolls off so easy. Like it's just it just rolls off like it just, and a lot of that stuff is improvised too. So I think that's also like, and there's a lot of comedies where these things are improvised and you don't know that that's what the case until you like watch the behind the scenes and the making of stuff. But like Friday is one of those movies, like I said, every line is a quote. Every line
we
is a
didn't
quote.
even talk another one that's in current lexicon. J-O-B. The word of the day is job. J-O-B. You need to go get yourself a job. And then
also, every time I'm in the kitchen, you in the kitchen. In the goddamn refrigerator. That's a classic.
We didn't even talk about the fucking the conversation on the toilet. The fucking I've been smelling your shit for 35 years. You can smell mine for 5 minutes. I find a dog and I choke him and I kick the shit out of him. Bang, 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 all day long up a dog's ass. He's talking
John Witherspoon.
That's my pleasure. Fucking just iconic, man. All of it. Fucking when Ezel fucking finds Smokey taking a shit in the backyard. uh,
I ain't gonna
James,
tell nobody else.
yeah. I'm not the smartest man in the world, but people still say that too. And then fucking Big Worm. Like, how do you forget that? That's my money, punk. He fucking throws the money at the fat little kid. That's a fucking iconic character. And then, like I said, the whole the scene with fucking Red and Debo. Fucking my grandma gave me that chain, and he runs away crying. He said, "Oh, he's gonna cry in the car." That's something people still say today too. Out of control. That's my punk. And then he says, "You want some too, old man?" No, people still say that. James, some standout. I mean, we talked about damn near all of them. You could piggyback on one of those, pick out that is your favorite scene, or if there's something I'm forgetting, throw it in there.
Well, it's amazing that we could be here all day and just going scene for scene, bar for bar, quote for quote, and that's the beautiful thing. It's something that as okay, so we're talking about Friday, and we talked about Chris Tucker, and we talked about John Witherspoon, but then you've got Ice Cube, and it's like, okay, Ice Cube is literally, someone who is still doing it in the industry today. Now, you can say what you will about some of the movies that have come along the way, whether it's in an RV or not, but still, the fact that this man was able to come up with, the idea that he was in NWA, spread the idea of what it was like to live in Compton, but also spread that idea of the societal commentary that comes with living in places like that around the world, and spread that through the music, and then latch that onto Boys in the Hood, get that Academy Award for John Singleton. Uh, the first African American director to win, and he was so young at the time to do it with Boys in the Hood, and then for Ice Cube to show the versatility of connecting that from drama to comedy with Friday, and then branch that out from there into action comedy, into more drama, into family movies, into the whole foundation of barbershop and then beauty shop. It's one of those things. And I mean, heck, he's got 3-on-3 basketball professionals going at it, bringing the sports aspect into it as well. So again, the impact that each of these people have is incredible. The quotes, that carry on the comedy, but also the layers involved with each of these people is incredible.
The next two might have to lean heavy on James, or I don't know, maybe True, you'll surprise me. I wasn't a big Wayne's World guy, and I wasn't a big Groundhog's Day guy. So, what do you got on these, True? The unbiasedness, that's good, because they are very, very, very influential. Still quoted to this day.
Honestly, Wayne's World is kind of like, it just was such a phenomenon that it was just impossible for me to, and like I said, if I was being biased, it would not be where it was placed. But I thought about like cultural impact and like how, in a way, man, in a way, like, honestly, I think from Saturday Night Live, it may be like the biggest film that came from Saturday. I could be wrong, but like, it's hard to think of a film that may have more impact. And Groundhog Day, I'm a big Bill Murray fan personally, so that's just what it was. And then like, that was one of the first comedies that I watched growing up, was Groundhog Day. Like, that was one of the first ones. And so, well, at least this is one of the first ones that I watched that didn't have majority black cast. I'll say that. So for me, that movie has, and I think that movie has such an impact on Bill Murray's legacy, outside of like Ghostbusters and some of those other things, and Caddyshack and stuff like that. But in the 90s, I think that's the quintessential Bill Murray movie. So that's why those are included. But honestly, when we get to my top three, that's my personal, most of my personal top three. The only thing I did was put Liar Liar in the top three, where I probably would have put Friday. Like, my personal top three is like Boomerang, Rush Hour, and Friday. Like, that's my, and honestly, I can't believe I left this movie off, because I sometimes think of it as a 2000s movie, more so because it released in 1999. But Life is a classic movie to me with Eddie Murphy, Martin Lawrence. I think it's probably it's the funniest jail movie, but it's also the most depressing jail movie So I left that off, and I'm mad at myself because I was going through the list and I was like, man, am I forgetting something? So if I could, I would do that list over again. I almost probably kind of want to like edit it and take it off, but I'm not. I'm not going to take off a couple things. But yeah, like I said, Wayne's World, Groundhog Day, those are quintessential movies that impacted pop culture. When I look at those movies, it had a bigger effect. Like people still dressed to this day. I've seen people still dressed like the Wayne's World characters, still to this day for Halloween. I don't understand why, and that's not my place to understand, but it still happens. So
I didn't even realize Life wasn't on here. God damn, that just shows how fucking loaded the '90s were, man. That Life
and that was my fault. That's my fault because I was going through my list and I had like wrote it down and I was going through the list and I'm like, okay. And for some reason, I was like, I'm gonna put Life on the 2000s list, but I already made the 2000s list, and that was where I was like, oh, and so I didn't realize it until after. So that's an oversight on my part. But
Hey, we're talking about it now. It's all good.
yeah, so it's a classic though.
The next one is a big one. Well, there's another one from this guy that didn't make the list that I would argue maybe should go on here instead. There's no Cable Guy, which is one of the moments that to this day will make me laugh out loud when he fakes leaving. He goes, Cable Guy, okay, I'm leaving. And he goes down the stair and he comes running back in and slams into the door and gets knocked down. Jim Carrey, Cable Guy, but this is the one we're talking about. Liar, Liar. This holds a deep place in my heart. This is actually like little kitty style. The parents were with us. This was actually, I think just because of where it placed in the calendar. This is actually where I went to my first date to the movies. Was to Liar, Liar. Excellent movie. Yeah. Excellent movie. Talk to us about it, True.
Well, Liar Liar is just like the epitome to me of like Jim Carrey's like his physical comedy, his nonsense, his ridiculousness, but also I think it's the first Jim Carrey movie. Like Cable Guy, I like the Cable Guy a lot, but Cable Guy got weird at points for me. Like not in a bad way, but I was just like, I wouldn't put it on my like favorite comedy or top comedy list. But Liar Liar, I just think it just worked because it became like there's so many iconic moments in that. And although my first date was not to see Liar Liar or Liar Liar, but I have so many memories attached to that movie. It is my favorite Jim Carrey comedy. It's one of my favorite. If I was being biased, it would have probably been like 4th or 5th on the list personally. But I think because Jim Carrey was such an impact player in the 90s, to me, this is his best comedy. And I think it's his best work. I mean, my favorite Jim Carrey comedy is a tie between this and Me, Myself, and Irene. That's a favorite of mine that people don't really mention as much. But I love that movie. So, so I think Liar Liar, I think the kid is adorable. That's one. The kid's adorable. Just the different scenes. Shout out to Jennifer Tilly, always great in all her roles as well. So, so there's just a bunch of great moments in this movie and just ridiculous. And like I said, physical comedy was Jim Carrey's bag. That's his bag. Like he was the 90s. He did the stuff he did in Ace Ventura, absolutely disgusting, but like hilarious at the same time. But Liar Liar was like, he's tossing himself over the desk. He's like writing on his face because I can't lie. Like he's going to court. It's just a ridiculous movie, but it works on so many levels. So that's why Liar Liar is on the list. I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that, as a father myself with a daughter, I come every day at some point with the claw. I'm coming to tickle. I'm coming with the claw, just like out of Liar Liar. It's so funny. It's so great. And the fact that you had Jim Carrey again, it's like people now will talk about Will Ferrell and all that he has done over the years and how amazing he is in terms of bringing the level of comedy he does to seemingly everything. He went from NASCAR to basketball to competitive ice skating. But the thing is, Jim Carrey. It's like, okay, he had the mask. He can do Batman Forever. What is he? What else can he do? You take a courtroom drama and you add comedy to it on the Jim Carrey level, and you've got gold. So it's the fact that he was doing that for years, and helped inspire and lend, build that bridge for so many others to follow afterward. It's incredible.
Number 2, iconic. I thought I forgot that this was a 90s one. I thought it was going to make the 2000s one, but this counts. What a huge deal fucking Rush Hour was, man. Again, a movie that still to this day quotable. Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Things you still hear out on the street to this day.
Well, Rush Hour. So it's funny. Rush Hour 1 makes this list, and Rush Hour 2 makes the other list, the 2000s list. So I think Rush Hour. I mean, Chris Tucker in the 90s, and this comedy did not make the list, but it was very close. And I say this on there. Money Talks is a hilarious movie, and it is the pinnacle of Chris Tucker's like ridiculousness in comedy. But Rush Hour is where he found the line between like hilarious funny for certain audiences and universally like hilariously funny, but also honed like the superstar element because he felt like a superstar in the Rush Hour series. So I think Rush Hour 1 is that moment where, I mean, Chris Tucker started making $20 million after this per movie. I mean, granted, he really didn't make many movies after this, but it was just the fact that like it was like the pinnacle. Jackie Chan was on top. I mean, you could go for Rumble in the Bronx. You can go to all these other movies that Jackie Chan had. Jackie Chan was just crushing it. You take these two and put them together. And funny, we talk about Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy turned down Rush Hour. Like he turned down Rush Hour, which I think is crazy. But I also get it because that script is not Eddie. That script was not Eddie. Brett Ratner, I don't think would have brought Eddie to where we needed him. And that's because I have a strong opinions on Brett Ratner, which there's a few reasons why. But but Brett Ratner, he knew what to do with Jackie Chan. He knew what to do with Chris Tucker, and they worked. And it was a seamless chemistry. Easily just one of those movies that I still watch. To this day, I watch Rush Hour. Like, that's a comfort movie for me. Like, all these movies on this list are comfort movies for me. Like, if I just want to sit back, eat something, just chilling, if there's no sports on, I want to watch something by myself, I can sit and watch these movies, especially my top 5 and, well, top 3 or 4, and laugh all day. And Rush Hour is just one of those ones, like, from, push the goddamn button and just things like that. Like all these different things that he says in the movie. And Jackie Chan's even funny. Jackie Chan's even just hilarious because he's a straight man to Chris Tucker in this movie, but he's still funny because when he starts talking, he starts saying, how full of shit you are. Like just little things he does, it's hilarious. And Rush Hour is it's timeless, and I hate to say this, but there is a certain someone in an office that once a fourth one made, if the rumors I read are true, and I don't have anything good to say about that dude. But if a fourth Rush Hour gets made, I'm not mad at it. I think they have enough juice in the tank for one more after all these other remakes and reboots. I'm okay with it.
Talk to me about Rush Hour, James.
Yeah, I agree. And the fact that you mentioned, when do you want to sit down and eat something while watching it? All I could think about is, sit down and eat some Camel's Hump while you watch it. It's one of those things where, again, another hilarious line from the movie. And again, like you said, push the button, push the goddamn button. What that child star brought to that role, and the fact that she sang Mariah Carey Fantasy so well in the car right before she gets kidnapped, it's incredible. Like, who or when but the 90s with this particular group of people could bring what they did to that. Also shout out to Elizabeth Pena, who plays the fellow cop who's trying to be on the bomb squad. Into that, she's another legend from the 90s. Love her. And like you said, the fact that Chris Tucker was able to hone in on what he could do to not only be funny, not only be an action superstar, not only make his persona and character universal, but the fact that Jackie Chan was also able to bring things that he had been doing for years in terms of comedy and action to that movie, and you mix it all up in a wonderful stew, and you've got a franchise that, like you said, whether or not the fourth movie comes out, I absolutely agree that they could definitely do it and pull it off. Again, with the layers involved, with some of the people involved, which aren't so great, but still, the fact that Jackie Chan and Chris Tucker could come together. I know they reunited relatively recently, and the videos have been going around social media, and just how much joy they just bring being in the same room being in the same room as each other. It's a beautiful thing.
Number one, and you guys talked about this a little bit, and you mentioned it. The thing that's rocks, it's beautiful to me, is it's not only that it introduced all these people, but it was like a dual purpose type of thing where Eddie Murphy brought in all these new folks but also he made sure to get all of the legends of black comedy from before this movie involved as well. I'm watching the clips off of it from the Eddie Murphy documentary on Netflix, and they're just so fucking funny. Like the Red Fox fucking stuff is so fucking funny, and just so many different parts of it is fucking incredible. Boomerang, man, you made that number one. I believe it's because it cascaded and launched so many other things that we're talking about here.
I mean, Boomerang was the catalyst for an entire like subgenre of like comedy where you had your gosh, man, like in a way it kind of set the tone for Nutty Professor in a different way. Set the tone for like The Best Man, Wood, a lot of different movies, and it was the quintessential, you know, I think it's the greatest romantic comedy for me. Because the plight of Marcus Graham, I relate to that in more ways than I probably should, but I relate to that. And so watching that movie, watching like the rise of, you know, Halle Berry, which this really put her kind of on the forefront as a potential leading woman in Hollywood. John Witherspoon with it. You got to coordinate like that. It's just, you know, and just the whole thing. David Allen Greer was good in his role. Martin was ridiculous in his role. Like everybody shined. And it was a time to, I mean, even Chris Rock in like his younger days is Boney T in that movie. Like Boomerang just has so many different layers to it. And it is the first real black comedy to showcase like a marketing executive. And I remember, you know, Eddie was on Jay Leno. I think they showed it and mentioned in a documentary where it's like, this is the first time we've seen all majority black cast where everybody's successful. Everybody's doing well for themselves. Everybody is living a life that's not like Boys in the Hood. And he said for a movie like Boys in the Hood, you feel like that's fine. But for a movie like this, you're like, oh, this is not realistic. Well, it is realistic. And then it is something that, you know, happens, and it's something that happened in plenty of offices. And so I think that's something that was needed at the time. And I think it changed a lot. And I think it made some people uncomfortable. But, you know, it is what it is. The movie is to me the biggest, not the biggest in terms of like money, or it's the biggest comedy for what the impact it had. And it's the last moment for years of Eddie being in that driver's seat and winning in a way. And like I said, it helped launch, you know, Martin a little bit more, helped launch Halle Berry. Robin Givens had a status as a sex symbol. Layla Rashawn was in this movie. Just a lot of heavy hitters. It's just you know, Tisha Campbell was in the movie. There's just nothing but heavy hitters in this movie, and it's a classic.
James, talk to me about it.
Yeah, I mean, still to this day, you've got Kendrick Lamar saying Halle Berry, hallelujah. You know, it's one of those things where the spider web, the connections, it's insane. And the fact that she was able to go from Boomerang, you know, not only to Boomerang to Bratz, you know, speaking of another iconic Halle Berry performance, but then again herself showing her versatility over the years, able to win the Oscar for Monsters Ball, and you know, do her thing in so many ways through so many films over so many years. It's incredible. Boomerang, the fact that it was able to also bring again Grace Jones and Eartha Kitt. These two titans in their own right in the music world, bringing, you know, incredible music, incredible vocal performances to so many great songs over the years with so much great social commentary, but also show they were so incredibly funny and able to pop on the big screen. That led to, you know, you've got Eartha Kitt voicing, you know, the character in The Emperor's New Groove, and you've got Grace Jones. Who, you know, don't get me wrong. Even before Boomerang came out, she had played one of the villains in A View to the Kill, the James Bond movie, which again isn't necessarily the greatest movie around, and not everybody liked it. But it's still, again, it shows the versatility of these people. It shows what they were able to do, and it's amazing that Eddie Murphy was able to help bring all these people together at such a point, which was such a crucial point to launch so many careers at such a time where it was so needed. And it's amazing to see all these people still doing what they are today.
Jumping into action side of this, maybe that's more the flavor of your family gathering or your big weekend. Last Action Hero, man, I enjoyed this so much as a kid. Arnie was like a huge part of my childhood. I used to laugh and tell people all the time. They said, they say you based your life after you left when you became an adult off the Conan movies. That's basically just how you live your life now. Loved Conan, loved the Terminators. Last Action Hero was real good for me as a kid. Loved it a lot.
I had that action figure, so that's why.
Hell yeah!
Because like there was like a bunch of movies I thought about, and I was like, man, like that movie is the epitome of action. It is literally about So Arnold Schwarzenegger, you can't get any better. I mean, you got Stallone, you got Schwarzenegger. Those are the titans of like the '80s and the '90s. Maybe Stallone made Judge Dredd in the '90s, so maybe not him. But I think if I'm not mistaken, he was in Demolition Man too, if I'm not mistaken. Can't remember. Or was that John Carver? I can't remember.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I just want to make sure. So yeah, I mean, he has a few moments.
Bro, Demolition Man isn't on this fucking list. True, we're gonna have problems, man. Oh my goodness.
It's not on that list for a good reason. Wesley Snipes' haircut.
Wesley Snipes is incredible in that movie. Oh my gosh.
Look,
crazy.
Look, the movie is hilarious to me, but for all the wrong reasons. So that's a whole nother thing. Trust me. If I come out with the worst movies of the '90s, I want to do it like an entire section talk about Virtuosity,
Yes.
which is a movie that like it's more sci-fi-ish. It's more sci-fi-ish than but it's action too. So the very interesting movie. Denzel has so many classics. That is the one Denzel movie where I was like, you know what? And it was a Russell Crowe. It's like two of the greatest actors, and like they redeemed themselves later on with like American Gangster and stuff like that. But like this was not their best. So when I think of Last Action Hero, to just go back to that real quick. Last Action Hero, I mean, the pants, the shirt, that alone is the like memorable and iconic. So that's why I put it on the list. It's just a classic.
The other three that round up the top three, James, you can jump into any of these. Mission Impossible, Ronin. Thoughts on any of these three?
Yeah, I love both of them, especially Ronin. I was so happy to see that on the list, and I hold that movie with such high regard. I recently rewatched it. It's so like the fact that so you've got Bobby De Niro, of course, and he's amazing in it. But then you've got Jean Reno, which of course leads to the action movie classic Leon, the Professional. And you've got the director Luc Besson who did that, who also did La Femme Nikita, which is also an incredible movie with Jean Reno and a great action movie of the '90s. So the fact that Ronan was able to tap into that is amazing. And then you've got Stellan Skarsgård, or some people like to call him Stellar Skateboard, like on the How Did This Get Made podcast. Stellan Skarsgård, literally, not only is he one of the best villains ever in that movie, he is just someone who, again, has been able to do so many things over the years, and now he's even in Andor as one of the best characters, giving one of the best monologues in modern history. So, and that's not even to say anything about his sons, who are now doing so many great things in movies, especially Alexander Skarsgård. So you've got those layers in Ronin, and then you've got Sean Bean, who is literally Ned Stark in one of the greatest turns of a character for being that character in Ronin, where he is just fumbling his way through so many different scenes to the point where Robert De Niro literally is able to get him kicked out of the heist crew because of a cup of coffee. It's incredible what he was able to do at that time as that character, and then have the career that he's went on to have, including fumbling his way through the Lord of the Rings as Boromir. So it's one of those things, where this again is an ensemble cast that just keeps on hitting and keeps on shooting. And I love the layers of Ronin that we're able to highlight not only the action side of things, but also just like the in-between scenes where this was one of the big first influential heist movies where they're assembling the crew, and how every movie these days tries to replicate it with a formula that Ronan was able to establish in a way that was so nuanced and so amazing. The dialogue scenes are incredible, the action scenes are incredible, and of course the car chase scene. So many people have, I'm sure, written not only articles but whole theses and dissertations about the car chase scene alone in Ronan. It's incredible.
Love it. So this was a big one. The next one is up. This was a big one to me. Like something I watched a lot as a kid, and it was just like so fascinating to me as a kid when it came out. There's another one I'm noticing that's missing off of here, True, that we got big problems. But
what's
I guess,
missing? What's missing? Real quick.
well, because I guess because we're trying to avoid actors having multiple movies on here, but no Con Air, bro. Oh my God, no Con Air.
Okay,
with the Day of the Dog, with fucking Ving Rhames, with fucking.
All right, so like Con Air, I like Con Air a lot.
Is tremendous. I just watched it again a couple months ago.
So here's the thing: The Rock and Con Air to me, it's like I wasn't gonna put both on my list just because like
The
I
Rock
feel like that's
people fucking love that movie. Who fucking know that movie? It's so iconic. It's
so
so weird. It's so iconic, but like everybody, when you bring up The Rock, like everybody's like, "Fuck yeah!" It's not like you don't ever see it on like documentaries, like talking about the era, and you don't really like nobody brings that up. And Sean Connery's passed, and like, but when you bring it up, you know, among a group of people that's like our age, everyone's like, "Fuck yeah, The Rock!"
It's a classic. So like Con Air, like I said, Con Air is great. It's just I was like, if I had to make a choice, and also I was gonna put Con Air and leave off Ronin or Last Action Hero, and then I watched Ronin not that long ago, and I was like, nah, man, I can't. I haven't watched Con Air in a while, so it's just this, like, when I make my list, I'm going strictly off of my memory and what I remember, and you know, I don't pay attention to anybody else's list like that until like after the fact. Then I'll look at other people's lists like later on and be like, oh wow, okay, maybe I did forget a movie or two, and like, well, whatever. Like,
the thing about it's so quintessential 90s, like the soundtrack, the concept, the big finish in like a big city setting that's like spectacular. It's fucking great. But speaking of vehicular situations, the next movie on the list was Speed. Again, fascinating to me as a kid. Watched it a million times. Sandra Bullock, prime Sandra Bullock.
That's it.
Again, fucking Demolition Man. What are we doing here? But
I know, but yeah,
it's funny because you're saying like you're not into Demolition Man, but all the things you're naming off are all things that are in Demolition Man. I'm just saying.
Listen, if Wesley Snipes was great in that movie, but I just growing up, it was just to me it was like Demolition Man was like cartoonish to me in how I saw it. So it doesn't resonate with me as much now as it did maybe when I was a kid and I was like, oh yeah, Demolition Man, nah.
The concept of the cryo thing, I used to take my bad guy action figures and freeze them in like cups and stuff, and like put them in the freezer.
There's a few reasons why that doesn't resonate with me now, but well, we won't go into all that. But no. So Speed,
it would have been better. It would have been nicer.
Yeah, I mean, but
same.
Speed, but Speed.
Tell me about Speed.
Keanu Reeves is. I mean, this is like one of his, real breakout roles. I mean, obviously he was in like the Bill and Ted stuff and whatever it was, and like, but this was a breakout role. This was a action movie where I think my man Big Red was in there too from Five Heartbeats, if I'm not mistaken. I feel like he was in there. I have to. Like, I'm not 100% sure, but like I see him in this movie for some reason. I remember him being in this movie, but like I said, Sandra Bullock, Keanu Reeves, I think they have really good chemistry outside of the movie The Lake House that they made. But they have great chemistry in this movie. Like I said, Sandra Bullock in the 90s doesn't really miss. There's a couple misses, but for the most part, she didn't miss. And I just think the concept of Speed was so intriguing. Like, it was such an intriguing concept of like, this bus has to and like, it's just so intriguing where you're just like, what am I watching? Because we didn't see anything like that.
No, there was nothing like that. No,
nothing like that. So that's why it makes the list. It's just a great concept and also a great action movie. It's like that pulse. Like you check your pulse after a movie like that. Like, ooh, I was. I was worried.
So, like, what the fuck is gonna happen? Like, how are they gonna get into this? Yeah,
we don't have those anymore, man. Involved. We don't get those anymore, man. We don't have like action movies like that. I just watched
one recently. It was it's Gyllenhaal and I can't remember the other guy who was in it. They're in an ambulance and they're riding all over LA.
That one, yeah,
ambulance, Michael Bay.
Ambulance, yeah. That was
good shit.
watched that one. Yeah, I watched that. I didn't like the ending. I thought the ending was a little but
Yeah, no, I thought the ending was kind of a fucking bummer too. Goddamn.
it didn't. I didn't like the ending, but what was the intense, and that's what's missing from action movies. I think these days we don't even get. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I don't go to the movie theater enough anymore, but like, I don't feel like action movies hit the same. So when I making lists like these, the
Yeah.
90s and stuff like that, and 2000 stuff, it's like it just
I
doesn't
think
hit the same, man.
I think now it's just hard to give enough budget to movies that aren't, Marvel, DC, Disney adjacent. I think it's just hard to give big budgets to movies that aren't that. So you just don't get these kind of like big blowout blockbuster spectaculars that aren't attached. They're like original action movies. You know what I'm saying? Like these are like this is what it used to be back then, was like, oh, what's the big action movie of the summer? Like big budget, fucking crazy shit happening with a big star. And but like studios do, because people don't go to the movies like that anymore. So studios just don't. That's a fun pod we could do someday is hold on a second. Are you fucking serious right now? True?
What?
Independence Day isn't on this goddamn list?
No. I'm not an Independence Day truther in that way. I don't.
Oh my fucking good. All right, well, we'll save that for another pod then. But it'd be interesting to do a discussion of just like do movies like
man, wait. I just want to point out also, I left off the first Bad Boys. That was by mistake. Honestly, this is strictly
that's crazy too. That's crazy too. That's insane too.
Which if I do that over, Bad Boys would probably be like in top 3 for me personally, because that's one of my favorite action movies. But this is the thing.
When we talk
I make these lists and I'm going off of straight memory. And I was thinking Bad Boys comedy, action comedy. So I was like, maybe I'll stay with strictly action and not just action comedy. And so like that was kind of my thought process. And these it's hard making these lists, man, and narrowing down. Like, I got like 30 movies I want to put on the list. But I don't, you got to narrow it down. That's the part.
When we did the pod about like black movies and soundtracks and their connection a couple of years ago, when we talked about how, a lot of the movies like what we just talked about, like the Boomerangs, the Fridays, like just like black, like simple black comedy movies or movies like that in general, like just don't really happen anymore. And it's kind of the same thing with the big budget action that isn't connected to anything else. Like, so it'd be a fun pod to do sometime to talk about like how many of these movies from the 90s and the 80s that are like iconic, like would have never gotten made in the modern time because they're so like, does an Independence Day get made? Does things like that.
Right, and that lends itself.
I'm not even going to bring this up because we're going through like a different genre. I guess we could go with sci-fi. True, Jurassic Park is not on this fucking list.
I don't consider it an action movie. That's why.
Yeah. We'll go there. It's on its own.
To be fair with Independence Day, I look at it as an action sci-fi. And like I said, there's a couple other movies that if I was blending the genres a little bit, I could probably do that. So I was just trying to keep strictly action based.
Action. Yeah. Because there's another one that just popped into my head too. Like, Gladiator on here. That's fucking wild.
Gladiator's but Gladiator came out in 2000. Did
it? Okay. Yeah, no, yeah. Right.
It's not on the 2000s list either. But it's because of the fact it's such it's like a historical piece.
It's like its own thing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Goddamn, what do you even? Well, yeah, that'll be a whole pod. Fucking Gladiator, so ridiculous. I watched it on a plane a couple weeks ago. Again, fuck. I would like to meet the Emperor. Shit, amazing. Speed, did you already get your go on that, James? Speed.
So what I have to say is I absolutely agree with what was said already, and I also want to add to the fact that I as well rewatched Speed recently. It's one of those things where, again, we're talking about rewatchability for a lot of these movies. At any point any of these movies comes up, I can just, all right. I mean, kids these days don't know what it's like to flip through the channel of when, cable was going and you just had to scroll and pick whatever channel you could, and if one of these movies was on, you would just stick on that channel and keep watching it. And that is the thing. Whenever I see it come up with streaming now, I saw Speed the other day. Boom, doesn't matter what I was doing at the time. I have to sit down and watch Speed because it's such an incredible movie, perfect movie, and the fact that we talked about Keanu, we talked about Sandra Bullock. The fact that Jeff Daniels was able to be such a great partner to Keanu in that movie, and then them going up against Dennis Hopper, the fact that he was such an incredible villain who then takes out Jeff Daniels with one of the most iconic oh shit face moments when Jeff Daniels realizes he breaks into Dennis Hopper's house and there's already a bomb ready for them, ready to go. It's one of those things where it's just one scene after another of nonstop, beautifully choreographed action to the nth degree on a bus that is, speeding in a way where, okay, yes, you could argue that, all right, so sometimes it breaks the laws of physics in terms of jumping from one side of a highway to another, or making a giant turn, where half the bus starts to get up, lifted up off its wheels and then lands perfectly fine. But it's one of those things where it's like even in those moments, you're in it, and the willful suspension of disbelief is fully there to allow you to completely enjoy the movie no matter what happens. So it's a beautiful thing. And also, really quick, I just want to make a connection. We're talking about whether or not certain movies are on this list or not. I completely hear you, Drew, and I completely understand why either some make it on the list for either recency bias reasons or nostalgia reasons. But the fact that, again, we're talking about it, they come up anyway. You've got Michael Bay with The Rock, which lent us to talking about Con Air, and then I want to lend that to not only talking about Bad Boys and that entire franchise, like we mentioned before, with Martin Lawrence coming up with, again, House Party and Boomerang in Life. But I also want to connect a major titan of action in the 90s, and connected through if we're going to bridge from The Rock with Nick Cage to Face Off, you've got John Woo. Face Off, another incredible 90s action movie. Whether it was on this list or not, I completely understand. But it's one of those things where you've got John Woo coming from China with incredible classics like The Killer and Hard Boiled, which I also rewatched recently, one of the best action movies of all time. But then him lending his voice to American cinema with things like Face Off, Hard Target, and then building off of that, you've got Antoine Fuqua, who one of his first movies is The Replacement Killers, which took Chow Yun Fat, brought him to America as well, took the John Woo style, brought it in a more gritty, in the streets of LA scene. I love The Replacement Killers, Antoine Fuqua, taking that John Woo style and then lending itself to his voice, which then again, without the influence of John Woo, and then Antoine Fuqua picking up on that for The Replacement Killers, we wouldn't have led to Training Day with Denzel. Speaking of Denzel, who is again also in Gladiator 2 to connect it back to Gladiator. So again, the spider web with this thing, it's nonstop. You can connect all the little branches of this web together, whether they're on the list or not. So I love it.
Like I said, I think to people of our age group, this is like just so iconic. Anytime you bring, it doesn't always get on lists. It always doesn't always get praise. But whenever a group of dudes our age get together, there ain't nobody who isn't heavily influenced by and in the rotation with The Rock, Sean Connery, Nicolas Cage. I don't know what it is about it that makes it so fucking that just makes it everything that it fucking is. The little green bubbles that make you spasm so hard you break your own back. I never forgot that, like from the first time I ever heard it. San Francisco setting, the good and the bad, the ugly, the hardcore criminal gets let out of jail to help. Just everything about it, man. The Rock is such an iconic 90s action flick. Talk to me about it, True.
Hey man, look, you have all the elements here. You have Ed Harris, you got Sean Connery, you got Nicolas Cage, and then you have Jerry Bruckheimer and Michael Bay. I mean,
yeah,
that is
the music is out of control on The Rock as well. Yeah,
it's like that's what you need for a movie like this, and it's everything you expect. Michael Bay has a long history with action films. He's known for being a little bit over the top. He's known for being this, he's being that, but he gets it right on this one. He gets it right, and it's just one of those movies that every time I watch it, I'm just thoroughly entertained. Like I'm just very entertained, and because of that, The Rock has to make the list. It has to be on the list. It has to be a movie And like I said, this is not an easy list to make, man. This was not an easy list to make because the 90s is like the pinnacle of action movies, like the
Yeah,
pinnacle of action movies.
90s and
So
80s. Yep.
we don't get movies like that anymore where we don't you don't get a movie like this in
No,
this day and
definitely not.
age. So it's just one of those movies, man. And I
Right.
think it's more of a cult classic maybe than because it's like it's not one that gets mentioned as often, but it is a great movie and it is the pinnacle of 90s action to me. It's right there.
Beloved. James, talk to me about The Rock, baby.
I specifically will always have love and nostalgia for this movie because this was one of the movies, again, I mentioned this back on our Halloween podcast episode with all the great horror villains over the years. I grew up with an amazing local video store, and this was during the time where they were still pumping out awesome VHS tape after awesome VHS tape.
Yeah.
So I remember specifically with The Rock renting this at the store on my own way before I was old enough to be able to properly have rented it at a Blockbuster or any other store. So the fact that I was able to do it at my local four-star video means so much to me, and I took it with me. Okay, so again, kids these days, with certain things, there's just so much ready to go for them. Back then, I had to take our old small TV with a built-in VHS player, and I had to bring that TV into the car, and I had to take an adapter and plug it into the cigarette lighter, which aren't even in some cars these days. So I had to do all that, and I popped in The Rock, and I literally on this road trip rewatched The Rock back to back 4 times, and it
Yo,
has
that's
stayed
fucking
with me
amazing.
all the way. Yep. So I
Yes.
absolutely love it and agree.
The way I got a hold of it was interesting too. My grandparents had a. This is another real blast from the past, man. I don't even know if they even had them out on the East Coast. But out west, we used to have, like, when you had satellite like cable, you had fucking satellite. Like, this motherfucking satellite was like 12 feet. I'm not even bullshitting you. It looked like something that was from a military base. This big ass satellite in the back that was like 12 feet by 12 feet. And when you would do shit on the remote and it would move, you could see the satellite fucking moving, and it would make the like, it was fucking huge. And it was all these wild fucking channels, like these different categories of channels. And you would just be flipping through these different headings, I guess is what they were on the satellite. It's fucking, it's all sounds insane now, but there's people out there I know who know what I'm talking about. And so anyways, I'm flipping through, and there's a little preview channel that says what's coming on, and I saw this was coming on. And back then, you guys probably are very familiar. True, I know you must be. James, I would be shocked if you weren't. A lot of us, you got the blank tapes. You got the blank tapes from
Yep.
Walmart or the 99-cent store, and you would just hit the record button on the VCR or whatever was on there, and you would record stuff all the time when you were back. My brother and me, I had the whole series. They're true. Things like that. You would record stuff, and so I found this, and I recorded The Rock. Instantly one of my favorites. Watched it a million times. Fucking love it. Any memories of recording things there, James?
Yes, I absolutely had the same experience in terms of growing up with those blank VHS tapes, and to the point where again, I'm sure you guys remember as well. It wasn't even just that you could record, one movie on these tapes off of the
Yeah.
TV.
Oh yeah,
You
there were
could
9 hours, baby.
Exactly. You could set the settings on the VHS tape to be able to get, okay, so if you want to go to the 9 hours realm with at least 3 or 4 movies on there, okay, maybe you drop in the quality. But again, if you want to just be able to, again,
Yeah.
go on a road trip, have a bunch of movies on a VHS tape ready to go, there you go. You could do it. So it was a beautiful thing. But I love the DIY, pseudo hacker abilities we had, whether it was with recording things that we weren't supposed to be recording or downloading things we weren't supposed to be downloading. It was a beautiful time.
Oh yeah, I had a speaking of things we weren't supposed to be recording, I had so
Hey,
some of
yo.
us as young men, you try to find ways around, especially I lived large portion of my life with my grandparents, so uh you gotta try to find ways around getting certain materials as a young man. And so I would, if I knew a movie had a a scene in it with something I might want to watch later, I would just hit record and just record that scene. So I had a video, I had a blank tape that had like 2 hours of just those scenes. And it just looked like just another blank tape in the stack of blank tapes, but I knew which one it was. I had like a little notch on it with a knife. Like I knew which one it
Exactly.
was.
I got
tremendous.
I got a story.
True, yeah. Talk to me about. I know
Okay.
you were doing some 9-hour tape situations.
Not 9 hours, no, but a couple hours. It depend on what what it was, but also like another thing about being back in those days is that we had not with the VHS tapes, but sometimes we would try to get it, but we would have like the cable box. So the cable
Yeah.
box used to give you
Yep.
grainy picture of certain things. If you tap the box just enough, you
get
can
a clear
see.
picture for. I
You
wasn't
can,
really
yeah.
necessarily talking about that anymore. Which that was also useful for us poor kids for WWF pay-per-views. That's how I watched
Yep.
many WWF pay-per-views as a kid. Was
Yep.
the scramble channel 647 or whatever it was.
Yep. And you just hit the
I'm not
box.
talking about. Did you used to record stuff off of the TV, off of movies, off of whatever?
It's a few things. I think I recorded like several episodes of Gargoyles
There you
at
go.
one point.
Amazing.
And I know for a fact one time. Oh no, I'm sorry. Yeah, my mother recorded this because I probably was too young to actually record it myself. The Jacksons, An American Dream. She recorded that off of An American Dream. She recorded that,
Yep.
and we watched that. We ended up buying a VHS set as well, but she recorded that, and I watched that like I want to say like 10, 15 times in the calendar year. Probably that was like the one thing I watched over and over and over and over again. So like that's my main memory. But like in terms of like actually movies, not really. Like not too many movies itself, but yeah.
It shouldn't surprise being the the producer and the dude that does all the editing and does all the stuff. I had just stacks of these fucking tapes. Like
I believe it.
I just had the whole Attitude Era Raw. I had like all of it. I had fucking like every episode. The Simpsons. I had seasons of The Simpsons. Like I said, My Brother and Me on Nickelodeon. I had fucking movies. I had you fucking name it. It was fucking in there. Like I just had trash bags full of these fucking tapes. And you would do like the artwork. You would draw like what was on it. Do not record over. You would write those messages. Crazy stuff. Continuing on in the list. So these next two going to be heavy with you guys. I'm not a big Die Hard guy. I'm not a big Enemy of the State guy. So True, talk to me about them.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the last thing you said. You're not
Die Hard and Enemy of the State.
Okay, so I'm not a big Die Hard fan myself. But the first one is a Christmas movie, which I'm sure we'll have to discuss that at some point before the end of the year. But the second one's cool. I think Die Hard with a Vengeance, anything with Samuel L. Jackson in it, I'm just gonna rank it high just because. And Die Hard with a Vengeance is ridiculous. It's ridiculous, but it's so much fun, and that's why that makes the list. I don't really have too much more to say on that one. Enemy of the State, it's an action thriller more so than anything, but I mean, look at what the plot is. Have You Met Me? Would you not think I would like a movie that's based around?
Of course.
I mean, come on. That's just like that's Enemy of the State is a movie to me where I'm like, if you know certain types of people, you watch a movie, you point at that and go, see, I told you that's what they do. I told you that's what they do. See, I told you. And that's that kind of movie. But I also think it's such a well-constructed movie. And it's really well constructed. And I think this was the film that I think for me, outside of like all the Will Smith movies, I think that was the one. Like obviously like Independence Day, Men in Black, those are bigger movies. Those are bigger blockbusters. But Enemy of the State was the one where I felt like you could take him seriously. as an actor, and because it wasn't about like Welcome to Earth, or it wasn't about, I'm a flash you with this thing so you don't remember. It wasn't even about like I'm Mike Lowry. It wasn't that. It was like I'm in fear because my family's in danger. I'm in danger. What the hell is going on? And he
Right.
made it work. And that's why Enemy of the State, to me, that's like one of my favorite Will Smith movies, and it's my favorite Will Smith movie of the '90s. Besides, obviously, Bad Boys, and of course Wild Wild West, which Wild Wild West is hilariously bad, and I can't wait to eventually have a conversation about Wild Wild West because I think the soundtrack is a classic, but the movie
It is.
is
It absolutely is.
so
Absolutely.
the movie is so bad. Like it's like that and After Earth, just two movies where I'm just like, damn, Will. Like I don't know what was going on at the time, but yeah.
Especially speaking of things record. It's funny because I thought of this when I was talking about the recorded tapes. I also had a recorded tape that was like 4 to 6 hours of just live musical performances from like anywhere you could think of. So like some of it was a concert, a lot of it was from like award shows and stuff. And I had on there the Wild Wild West Will Smith from the MTV Music Awards that year.
Yeah.
The year the movie came out. For sure.
I absolutely love it. It's amazing. So you've got director John McTiernan, who again goes back to directing Last Action Hero. It's one of those things where what he was able to do in terms of bringing action to a level that it hadn't been seen before with Die Hard, and then like Drew was talking about the places that they go in New York City with Die Hard with a Vengeance is to a degree where it's like, okay, first you've got them, coming together, uh you know uh j- uh how do I say this? You've got Bruce Willis meeting Sam Jackson, the most unlikely duo, coming together to try and figure out how to disarm a bomb in a school full of children. And then you've got a bank heist going on at the same time. You've got them driving through Central Park. You've got them doing multiple, trying to solve multiple riddles throughout the movie. But the one that always stands out for me is when they're trying to figure out how much water to put in the gallon jugs and then put them on the scale to disarm the bomb. That's one of my favorite riddles still to this day. And then you've got them, not only doing all these things, but then ending up on a boat. And what happens to the boat? Of course, the boat blows up. And then after the boat blows up, where do they end up? At a place where there's a helicopter, and the helicopter gets shot down, with a revolver. From Bruce Willis after he shoots it into an electrical cord. It's incredible. Jeremy Irons, playing the brother, to the dead villain from the first movie. It's incredible. I love it. It'll always be on rotation for me. So the fact that it was on the list is great.
It's a big one. This is probably the one for me. Like I acknowledge the impact of the next two, but this one right here is the one for me. As a kid, there's a few movies that were like in a rotation. And it's a bad thing because I was like a kid, and these are obviously extremely violent movies that I'm about to talk about. But Conan the Destroyer, Predator, Rambo, Terminator 2. I have probably seen those movies 9,000 times between the two of them. You should just watch them all on repeat. As a kid, used to ask because my family was a poor situation. My grandmother would cut my hair for me. I would always ask her to cut my hair like Arnold Schwarzenegger in Terminator 2. I was fucking obsessed with fucking Terminator 2. This movie really does have it all. It has. So I was listening to a pod about this movie. It was kind of not known that the roles were going to be flipped as far as who Arnold Schwarzenegger was, the protagonist or the antagonist. So coming into the theater, people had a somewhat similar experience. Like now, people kind of guessed because it was like, why would Arnold come back? You know what I'm saying? But people had somewhat of a similar experience to John Connor, figuring out like, oh, holy fuck, that's the Terminator. And then bam, he's a good guy. And it's like, oh shit. Guitars and Cadillacs. Love that song. Listen to it to this day. It's a song that's playing when he comes into the bar. Give me your boots, your jeans, and your motorcycle. All time iconic fucking scene. The scene where they're getting chased through the drainage canal on the bike with the truck chasing them. All time iconic scene. The advancement in CGI. This was before. This was like the real first time we saw this stuff on screen. This was before Jurassic Park. Fucking a revelation when it fucking happened. It still holds up today. The final scene, still the most baddest motherfuckers you know in the world will still get choked up about that final fucking scene, because I think so many of us who gravitate towards this movie, who have a little bit of a harder outer shell, me, true, lacked a father in our lives, and so we were kind of experiencing what that was like for John when he had that with him for just a little while, and how good the Terminator was to him, and how then now I have to go. Still to this day, it's still fucking tough, man. That ending with the thumbs up, the most badass shit that you can imagine. The theme song, the fucking soundtrack, a lot of it carried over from Terminator 1, but the soundtrack is fucking insane and iconic and has lasted forever. I could go on and on and on and fucking on, man. Drew, talk to me about Terminator 2. I'm sick. I have a stuffy nose. I'm not fucking crying.
Hey man, no, Terminator 2 is just a classic, man. What more can you say about a movie like that? I mean, Arnold, he owned the first one, right? He owned the first one. Shout out to Robert Patrick for his role as T1. I think it's T1000, right? I got that right. T1000.
Yep.
He played the hell out of that role, and I just, you know, everything about that movie. When you think of Terminator, like that's the one I think people instantly, comes to mind. It's such an T1000 is such an iconic villain, and you have the Terminator coming back as like the protagonist. He's coming back. He's helping the Connor family, and it just it's just everything you wanted in an action movie back then. But you didn't know you wanted it in an action movie back then. Like you'd seen like Predator was before this, and some of those other ones that came before that. But like Terminator, like it upped the bar for action movies. And I mean, like I said, just what more can you say that you basically said it? Said everything. It's just it was the movie, and I think once again, if I was being biased, it would probably be number 2, because my number 2 pick, I don't actually care that much for that movie personally. It's just a big movie that I have to put on the list. Like you have to put certain things on a list. Like you have to put certain things on a list. My number 1 is a personal one for me, and personal.
I think most people would agree, honestly, that like number 1 that's on here.
It's just
If I was going personal, this would be my number 1. But yeah, James, did you know? I know you're a game guy. Did you know that there's a 2D side scroller, like kind of like in the style of Hotline Miami, but it's Terminator 2, and you get to play out iconic moments from the franchise, and you can choose to do them differently and get like 40 different endings on like how things would go if different things that happen in the movie.
That's amazing. I
it's coming out on
know that.
You can find it online. I think it's in PSN and also Xbox Live. You can find it. Fuck yeah, I'll send you the fucking trailer for it. I sent it to my buddy a couple weeks ago. I'll send it to you on Discord. Talk to me about Terminator 2, man.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Terminator 2. Oh, like you guys said, we could be here all day. It's just so good on so many levels. The fact that the practical effects on top of the digital effects were so groundbreaking.
The fucking arm when he cuts off his fucking arm in front of Dyson.
Yep. And when he is in front of the mirror and pulling out the bullets, when they're taking a break in between shootouts, it's one of those practical effects that when you watch it behind the scenes, it's incredible. It blows your mind. So the fact that they were able to do that, all that, then it is mind-boggling. So Terminator 2, you've got the whole idea of the layers we've talked about that keep it rewatchable and still, a banger today. And then you add on the layers of Skynet and the technology and how we deal with it and interact with it, which is as relevant today as ever before. And
Yep.
then I forgot to mention, that connected back my thoughts on Enemy of the State. I completely agree, Drew. It's one of those movies where when you actually sit down and watch something that makes you think about all the way when you sit down and watch something and think about all the ways that people are watching you and listening to you, whether it's the government or our government or foreign government, and how that can affect in the movie a man's life, a family's life, and that microcosm. But then you look at it from a macro point of view and you think about how everything is so crazy in this world and how we're all being surveilled at any given point in time. So you've got Enemy of the State, you've got Terminator 2, and then all of this is going to lend itself towards how we deal with technology in one of the movies that we're about to talk about. And it's just today more than ever with AI the way it is, it's one of those things where it's so relevant and it's so scary and so like it's whether you're watching them when they were came out or watching them now, it has pond ripples that reverberate for generations, and it's one of those things that they tapped into and will always be something that you can rewatch.
How satisfying was it? I don't know why, but like I fucking loved that scene where she goes to the guy in Mexico or on the Mexican border, wherever the fuck it's at, and they got that like, crazy arsenal underneath and they're fucking clacking everything together. Wasn't
Yep.
that the fucking best, True? The number two, you know what? I don't need to. I don't think we talked about this at the party. I don't think we've discussed this before. But I just know. I just have a feeling. I just know. I just know you're a Matrix guy. So talk to me about the Matrix. It's our number two movie.
Exactly. The Matrix, you know, it is literally the movie that changed everything. Not only speaking of action movies, but movies in general, and going from 1999 into the 2000s. Again, Y2K, whether kids these days either know about it, but they definitely don't know what it was like to live through it. It's one of those
Yeah.
things where there was so much fear and anxiety over what things were going to be like in the transition from the 90s into the 2000s, and the Matrix was one of those things that put it right in front of us and was like, here it is, deal with it. Your relationship with technology is changing, for better or for worse. The fact that, okay, so you've got Keanu, we've got the connection to speed. Now, you've got another ensemble cast working together with Keanu. Okay, Lawrence Fishburne, he's been a heavy hitter ever since way back at when he was not only, Lawrence Fishburne, but back in Apocalypse Now when he was Larry Fishburne, and coming up, over the years, doing a bunch of different action movies. Another great action movie from the sci-fi action movie from the 90s, with horror elements. I love Event Horizon with Lawrence
Hell yeah.
Fishburne and Sam Neill. So you've got him as Morpheus. Gosh, if there isn't a day that goes by where, like, don't get me wrong, I never want to get that phone call from Morpheus, but at the same time, there's so many moments where I'm like, if only there were more Morpheuses out there, where there were like genuine, not only hackers, but people just looking out for others, trying to deal with so many agents that we are having to deal with these days, and actually trying to stick it to them. Like, I know we've got, Anonymous in terms of a group that's supposedly still online doing stuff for the better good, but I feel like that there's so many things happening that,
Yeah.
like, we need even more folks like that, whether it's like the team that was assembled in iRobot, or no, sorry, not iRobot. I'm still thinking about Will Smith and Enemy of the State. Mr. Robot, the show. It's
Yeah.
one of those things that, again, it all lends back to the Matrix and how we deal with technology, and whether you're a hacker or not, you can still see the writing on the wall that we're about to go full force into a new world with this AI technology, like you guys were talking about. But then you've got Carrie Ann Moss as Trinity, and then in the following Matrix movies, Jada Pinkett Smith, and you've got other folks that lend themselves to an ensemble that brought action to a whole nother level with the Wachowski siblings. Uh, the idea that they were able to bring martial arts, again, bringing back to John Woo with Gun Fu, bringing that side of the thing into the martial arts, gunplay, making it almost dance like, and boundary pushing in its own right. It's one of those things where it's like, again, another movie we can talk about all day. It's amazing.
the number one, and I think you said it was kind of biased, true, but honestly, like everybody who I've ever heard who's a movie person puts this in the highest possible esteem that there could be. So I don't know if it's biased at all at all.
I mean, bias for me
Heat.
just because of the fact I think
Heat,
some
number
people
one.
would, some people might put Terminator number one, like you said. Some people might put Matrix number one. I'm not a huge Matrix guy. I've never really been a huge Matrix guy. Like I like the concept and I understand it, red pill, blue pill, whatever. But Heat is just almost 3 hours of just great writing,
I'm just hooping.
great, like everything, great action, just great performances. I mean, you got De Niro and Pacino, you got Val Kilmer. You just have just great. It's just like it's like the epitome of what you want out of your action movie. And it doesn't feel like it's nearly 3 hours, which I think is the biggest compliment to a movie like that. Michael Mann did a great job. Just
Yep.
all around excellent movie. And it's one of those movies, like I said, I'm not the type of person that wants to sit around and watch 3 hour movies typically, but this is one of them. There's very few where I could say, okay, this movie's 3 hours. I'll sit through it. I'll watch Heat anytime, anytime. It's just
Absolutely.
a phenomenal movie. I am a little skeptical about this sequel they're coming out with.
Mhm.
Little
You have to be with
skeptical.
classics.
Yeah, but I mean, we're like 30 years later. We come.
Yeah.
But hey, you kind of have to trust the direction because the first one, this one just so iconic and so amazing. Like you're running a risk. I mean, I guess you can't bring back the same characters, right? So you definitely can't bring back De Niro, and R.I.P. to Val Kilmer. Obviously, can't bring him back. So I'm curious to see, but like I said, man, this movie is just the pinnacle of 90s action. It has everything. I mean, the shootouts, it's almost like the cat and mouse game between De Niro and Pacino in this movie too, and then like the ending going the way it did. It's just everything. It's just every little detail about this movie is perfect. So
Right on.
so Heat is my number one. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Heat and Casino are two of my favorites, and I know some people feel differently about Casino, but Casino is an amazing movie. And I'm a De Niro guy. That's just what it is. Especially 90s De Niro. Like 90s De Niro was like, he was like, I don't know, he was like cool. He was like cool. He was always kind of, but he wasn't really cool back then. To me, he wasn't cool like that cool in the 70s and those raging, but like he was great, but he became the epitome of cool, and he was a great villain. He's a amazing villain. And this is one of my favorite performances from him, if not my favorite performance from him. So just a classic, man.
James, wax poetic. Heat.
It is, like Drew said, one of the best movies ever made. It is De Niro at his peak. I absolutely agree in terms of what you just said, in terms of describing his trajectory, going from what he did in the 70s and the 80s into the 90s. I definitely feel like he found his cool in the best of ways. And the fact that you've got Heat and Ronin, and that you were just talking about one of my personal favorites as well, Casino. I don't care what anyone else says. Casino, for me, when it comes to Martin Scorsese, I put it above Goodfellas. I put it above, a handful of other, Scorsese movies. It's one of those things where there's something about De Niro in the 90s, and speaking of which, I would also love to bridge the gap. Okay, so you've got Sam Jackson again in Die Hard with a Vengeance, De Niro and Sam Jackson in another great action, but also it's definitely got its comedic beats to it as well. Jackie Brown in the 90s, Quentin Tarantino. That's my personal favorite Quentin Tarantino movie. Also has Chris Tucker in it. So the thing that De Niro does is something that nobody else could do then or could do now. It's a layer of cool, like we've talked about, but also a layer of professionalism. He can bring the action in any scenario. He can, have any dialogue scene feel like it's got the weight of the world on his shoulders, especially, of course, when it's him and Pacino in the cafe going toe for toe. Like you said, the cat and chase mouse. The cat and mouse chase factor is always present, whether they're in the scene together. Like that is the only scene they're in the movie together for, except for the ending. In terms of having dialogue, uh, it's one of those things where Heat brings it, like you said, it's 3 hour movies, 3 hours long, but it doesn't feel like it. You could watch it at any point and never get bored. I rewatched it recently for, the 100th time, let's say. And I also am dubious about the sequel, but who knows? We'll see. Michael Mann, like you said, he's done so much good work over the years in so many great action movies and otherwise, whether it's with repeat actors he's worked with or with folks like Jamie Foxx and Tom Cruise in Collateral, incredible action movie. But then you've also got Will Smith in Ali, incredible action, incredible movie, sports action movie. So it's one of those things where I love Heat. I love Michael Mann. The fact that it's number one on this list is beautiful, and I'm so glad we got to be here to talk about it.
Hell yeah, that'll be about wrap it up. I hope this inspires some of you to gather around the TV, enjoy some laughs, enjoy some thrills, enjoy some action, enjoy some comedy. Hope we've helped you have something to listen to while you take that little walk, maybe before you get into your lunch, your Thanksgiving feast, in the car on the way to go visit family. We hope everybody has a safe and happy and warm holiday, and hopefully can work some of these movies into your rotation. You have a great time. Thank you, James, my man True. Y'all are the best. Happy holidays from all of us over here. We will be with you on the next one.